Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order, Last Days of Europe, with me, Alpha Omega, and the Empire of Japan. So the date is 17th of September. Am I going crazy? 17th of February, Jesus, 17th of September, my god. 1969, and we are almost halfway through Hakkō ichiu, which is the last focus on the current focus tree, giving us additional 100 political power, support of 5% in the House of Peers, public approval, and boost to administrative efficiency. Everything is looking pretty good for us, so there really isn't much more to say than let's just get on with it and see what further insanity the Davies conspiracy and investigation is going to bring to us. Now, I have, in between episodes, considered for a bit that we might want to change the Hohei Shidan a bit, but we still do not have enough APCs, and unfortunately that seems to be a little bit of an issue. I was actually also considering to give them an AFV instead of an APC, but despite us actually manufacturing these, look at that, they're worse in every single way. I'm kind of confused how that is possible, because both of them has been upgraded by us. Type 26A, which is an AFV, you can see has defense, breakthrough, soft attack, hard attack, but I guess it just is that our APC is so much better. Kind of weird. So we might want to actually look into it and research the AFV next, because we need to start getting them better, because my god, do we suck. But giving them maybe the autocannon and stuff like that, yeah, we need to get an AFV. Creeping doubts. Investigation in Shanghai led only to dead ends, quite literally. In a plain, small graveyard in the city, Kenpetai agents found their man, Milton Miles, the rear admiral. While the gravestone obviously did not say his name, it was quick for investigators to piece together that the English-speaking smuggler, who had been ignored by Shanghai police and died in his early 60s, was one of the dangerous lapdogs of Daili and his master plan. The body would have to be checked to fully authenticate that discovery, but it was already agreed upon by everyone present that it was Admiral Miles. Damn, I made a coffee for me and it's a killer. Oh. The man's been dead for almost 10 years, damn it. An investigator snarled over the phone. We have investigators and local police closing off the graveyard to do more analysis. But this is a man dead for 10 years. On the end of the line, his co-workers in the Tokyo office attempted to calm him down, but he refused. Tell me why the hell one of our 3 big suspects has turned out to be dead. The army finally realized Daly isn't dead, and now we found out Miles is. Doesn't this seem The phone hung up. The investigator cursed, another dead end. But how on earth is a supposedly dead man alive and a supposedly alive man dead? Something is wrong. You tell me. So how did the paranoia increase? To 9%. Okay, I say we do this. Let's promote, and kill the paranoia. So support is now 72.5, 72.5, and I would really like it if we had, yeah, but these ones, unfortunately, we would need the command power, which we do not have. So any kind of increase now is going to be paid out for an increase in paranoia. What can we do? Not much. We can just hold on and hope that everything will be fine. Oath in Ash Garden. The skies were choked up by smoke and rubble, no matter how far away they were from the carnage. In a hill close to the city, the 3 men could do little but observe, in silent horror, as a metropolis of millions was pillaged no differently than the Mongols would have centuries before. The old temples and forts were shattered, and the lush parks and gardens had been burned to cinders. It did not feel like an act of man, but the wrath of a higher power. Lieutenant General Daly turned to his 2 comrades. Before breaking the silence they had kept since they arrived. To his right stood the Kanong, a long-time opponent since the General Simo began to purge the communists from his clique, now one of the only men he could trust. Aside from them was American Admiral Miles, silently mouthing a prayer at the sight of the unimaginable devastation. Davy fought back the millennia-old tales of the Three Kingdoms, of three nobles and cunning leaders meeting to become blood brothers. Yet, great princes with honor would have had no answer for a foe which could bring death on land, air, and sea. Their peach garden was reduced to ash. And as Chongqing burned, the three men made an oath that this would not be the end. Japan would answer for what they did in Chongqing and dozens of other cities. "We will fight," Davy said. "We will never give up this burden until Japan burns like this garden." With that, the three men descended from the hillside, bound together as the leaders of a war that would not end until Japan was brought down and vanquished. Man, I love the writing. This is so epic. But I really fear what it's gonna mean for us. Because that's consumer goods to maximum. Fine-tune our populace. Our economic growth as well as our stability will benefit. Okay, so hold on, let me read this one and then we're gonna test the consumer goods, because I was thinking about that. We don't really need that many factories being built. And if you really don't. Well, we can try it. It's a little bit risky, but it's gonna boost our economy significantly, I expect. So that's what we are after. Kenpetai Trail. Deep underneath Tokyo's intelligence headquarters, buried beneath nearly 30 meters of concrete and steel, two men sat in a bare room. "Mr. Isuzu, I hope you understand the seriousness of filing a report of treason in this investigation," the investigator said, calm underneath the incandescent bulb. If your claim is even the slightest bit incorrect, you'll be terminated from this investigation. Mr. Isuzu's eyes darted frantically across the room. He had a theory, but who else would believe it? It would bring the whole investigation crashing down. It made no sense, but he felt it to be the case. "Investigator Kawashima, I work for the decryption department. We've been seeing nothing but failure in our efforts. Every day the Kenpetai delivers us piles of acquired documents from raids, but there is no pattern." He cleared his throat before continuing. "These papers are not code, they are random characters and words thrown together." The investigator took a cigarette out of his pocket. "Isn't it your job to separate this randomness? I do understand the delays in code breaking, and I can tell you there are people far more powerful than either of us who want it done now." "Investigator, I'm telling you, look at this." Mr. Isuzu opened a folder of documents labeled as unimportant. "We have checked this against Yuntong codes, German, American, even the Russian ones. The Kenpetai are giving us pointless documents that aren't ever meant to be solved." Daily could just be, in a moment of defiance, perhaps Mr. Isuzu's most daring action of his life, he cut off Kawashima. "The Kenpetai are sending these, investigator. I can't see any other answer. I swear to you it is true. Investigator Kawashima." He grew more frantic with each sentence, slamming his fist down on the metal table. "They're giving us nothing. You can ask anyone else, I swear. The Kenpetai are hiding something. I can feel it. Please look into it. They are not telling us everything." As Mr. Isuzu collapsed into his seat, Mr. Kawashima looked at him with a mix of shock and fury. It couldn't be true. He was a madman, driven to lunacy in order to justify his lack of progress. He stood up and left the room, gathering Mr. Isuzu's files with him. Before he closed the heavy door, he remarked, with the thought beginning to gnaw at his mind, that maybe the seemingly crazed man had an inking of truth to his theory. "You're dismissed. You've gained evidence." Evidence of what? We've gathered sufficient evidence about affairs in Shanghai and Admiral Miles. We have gathered sufficient evidence regarding internal disruptions to our intelligence. So what we haven't gathered now is the Chinese involvement and regarding Daidi himself. Okay then. So now we have more of this. Okay. So do you want to increase consumer goods by 10%? If I click to max it out. Okay, let's try it this way and see what the economy is gonna do. Well, okay, we have gained a little bit at the cost of a little bit of civilian factories. Okay, we're almost at 5%, so that is definitely worth it, and we can spend it now because we have everything under control, and the construction queue is really not, all that important anymore for us. So the Kenpetai is somehow involved in this. I wonder how though. How's the construction of the carriers going? Yeah, still. Wait, 3rd of March? 5th of October. Okay, so about a half a year they are gonna be finished. At that point we will already have designed and planned the new advanced cruiser hull ships. And that anything that we want to get with them. Can we get them better rockets or guns? Yeah, we could get them better medium and light batteries. Better torpedoes. These are way ahead of times. But I think the technology itself carries some new things with it, doesn't it? Yeah, better engine and better armor, but no better rockets? Really? Okay. An internal investigation. Okay. With every other lead thus far having proven to lead to a dead end, there was only one trail that could be pursued. The leading body in the investigation thus far, the Kenpetai, had given little reason for us to suspect them in being involved in the conspiracy itself. Being of decent standing, especially compared to our allies in the Nanjing government. However, it does not and should not rule them out from investigative scrutiny, especially given the fact that they have connections to the Imperial Japanese Army's entire command structure. It must be said, however, that investigation leads to the IJA would need to be threaded very, very carefully, for if we are suspected of trying to break their monopolies of power, if it react, it means that would threaten the very stability of our government, let alone the investigation. Paranoia increases moderately, and we are set to be, or want to save the game. Well, we have paranoia of 7%. We still have a decent support. I can't really do much in this regard, but we could do another round of paranoia reduction if it's the mechanic that's standing behind this. The government itself is doing well. We're at 5,375. In network of relations. Okay, military austerity is gone. So we'll have that one reinstated. And we can have a look at this one. But wait, I wanted to do something. Oh, yeah, okay, let's finish the Hakkō ichiu first, so that we see the situation as it is. So Hakkō ichiu. Oh! Okay, so we immediately got Another focus tree. Well, alright. And we got 25. Oh god. Oh god. A development program. Over investment strategies. School constructions. Okay, well that's interesting. So we're gonna have to investigate that. A network of relations. Despite being the ones to initially bring up the matter of Daivi's possible infiltration of the military, the Genpeitai has since then kept rather quiet on the matter. While their aid in bringing the matter to the attention of the Home Ministers was a significant sign of loyalty and trust, some of the investigating officers wondered if the Genpeitai's newfound silence was a cause for concern. It might have been possible that Daivi had infiltrated their lower ranks too, in order to remain one step ahead of his adversaries. Despite their well-meaning and ultimately friendly request to examine the Genpeitai for signs of conspirator infiltration, the investigators were told to stand down by the military upon each attempt they made. Even the Home Minister received a sign of the military's scrutiny in the form of a letter encouraging him to focus his attention on the actual investigation. Not wanting to be seemingly pacified by these idle demands to both himself and his investigators, the Home Minister began to consider what he could do to break through the military blockade. There were still many within the army and navy who he could count on as allies. Some even owed him favors going years back. The minister had a few phone calls to make and even a couple of letters to write. Within a few days, the investigators were finally granted access to the sections of the Army and Navy's records, particularly regarding finance. It was at the very least a decent starting point. In order to investigate the Genpeitai themselves, they would need to discover the reasons for the military stubbornness. Hopefully they would crack without too much resistance. Investigate the Army for discrepancies, or investigate the Navy for discrepancies. Well, it doesn't. I mean, I can increase the budget for the Navy, or for the Army, and investigate the Army. Having very good relations with the IJA will greatly affect the result. So hopefully we have good enough relations. And now let's see into the correcting past mistakes. Ino's administration had admirable goals, but he and his allies allowed the desire for personal power and wealth to blind them to the need of the nation. We must begin with assurances that those errors will not be repeated. The Emperor's opinion of our administration will change. Modify the Showa Emperor by political power gain plus 0.05 and stability 2.5%. Political power plus 100, and we get support in the House of Peers increased by 2.5%. Administrative efficiency will begin to improve, and political parties, one-party state policy effectiveness increases. So let us also investigate what's going to happen here next. A base for growth. Oh, finally the industrial expertise will start to improve. And we get a GDP boost. Invest in civilian projects. More of the same. Greatly increases maximum investment in social funding. Construction speed. Continue the blossoming partnership. GDP increases. Business taxes are decreased and public approval is decreased, but industrial expertise improves. Maximum toast to innovation. Research facilities will improve. Administrative efficiency. GDP growth will increase. Wow, we get slots. Rural Development Act to do that and ensure inflation is controlled. That decreases inflation, which is really good. That's a I guess that's a first step together with the blossoming partnership, which increases GDP flatly. Decreases taxes. I don't like that. This one further increases GDP growth. Increases or improves poverty rate, but decreases income taxes even further. Okay, and the military projects. These are not one or the other, so it's more about what we want to do. We gain 2 production units, increases GDP. Nice, these are really good. Stability at last, moving forward. Say, let's see, wait, I haven't really GDP growth. Okay, we spent a little bit of money. We gain production, GDP. Oh, these are all really good. So, but first, I know that IGA support increases. Well, so it's going to be basis for growth, invest in civilian projects, and then ensure inflation is controlled and continue the blossoming partnership. Then we can go invest in the military projects. We can have the far-flung resources, which is a bill. We can also do the expand the MIC, which gives us a 1.5% boost to the GDP and production units. And then we'll have to decide. And let us now check what is here. Although the worst of the Yasuda crisis is behind us, it would be unwise to let the momentum we have built during the recovery slow down. We will continue to use our connections to invest in infrastructure and projects to boost the economy of Japan, while we may face some opposition in the diet towards continued wide-scale public spending. There is nothing a few small favors can't fix. So these increase the GDP at the cost of money. Taito, Kyoto, river investment strategies. Cool. Expand the power grid. Is this I think that's a cost of our power. Expand the Urajo port. Expand our prisons. Expand the power grid. Schools, healthcare. Seichi the army. Military professionalism starts improving. Conscription, though there's nothing that would help with the relations, I see. Expand the Urajo port. This one is really good, but probably costs a lot of power. We get 5 building slots. GDP growth. Oh, this one is really good. We get a railway. And the Zenan expansion plant. And Kyoto reinvigoration. Okay, so one thing that I know I want to make today is this one, which helps with the poverty rate. Which is good. And I would really like to see how this affects our power. So we have 186. I could launch a propaganda campaign, but I'd rather use the public. That gives us a little bit more power again. So how many people do we have? 197. And if we went with something like... This one is really good. Increases GDP growth. Every state through which the railway expansion passes will have its GDP boosted. So expand the Shinkansen. So did that change? It did, and significantly. Okay, so we have to be careful with that, but it works well. It works well. So I like it. And GDP growth is above 5% now. Amazing. Though we have a huge euro deficit now. Where did that come from? Initial findings. I hope we have high enough relations with the army and low enough paranoia. The investigation was, on the surface, going well. The agents were not treated particularly well by their hosts across a number of army offices and barracks. They were met with stern and almost defiant glances as they went about their work. Files arrived on time and interviews were carried out, always together with those seemingly ubiquitous looks of anger. Yet the agents were still able to carry out their tasks, albeit with an uncomfortable aura around them at all times. The investigation swept through a number of low-level sections of the army, and in seemingly very little time. The daunting and dangerous upper levels were next. Fortunately for them, there would be a number of assets, courtesy of the Home Ministers, to aid them. A number of aligned army personnel would make sure the operation ran smoothly. If one soldier refused to deliver a document, it would soon enough be delivered by a superior officer. Interviews went by without too much difficulty, as a word or two from the Home Minister kept the army mostly in check. It was enough to make the officers know that cooperation would lead to a hastened promotion and not a hastened retirement. All in all, the assistance of the Home Minister was more than enough to aid in this investigation. Among the plethora of unusual and suspicious documents collected by the investigating agents, a selection of financial records stood out the most. The first detail of note was that they concerned a number of Kenpatai officers. The second detail was that these officers had become obscenely wealthy over the course of only a few weeks. Money had seemingly been poured into the welfare of these military police officers, yet at no point did the record state why this has been authorized. A new series of interviews, all approved with great reluctance by the Minister of War, were conducted. Some of the soldiers had heard rumors of fortunes materializing for certain officers among the Kenpatai, but these rumors hadn't told them anything of a source. Of a source for the yen. The soldiers had come to an agreed hypothesis. It was simple enough. The Kenpatai was now in the business of accepting particularly large bribes. Something fishy indeed. Can we do anything else to increase the relations? No, I never considered this that important, but hopefully our relations are strong enough as they are. Okay, so this will help with the poverty, which is, still decreasing, which is good. The industrial expertise is slowly worsening. So can I see industrial? Hold on. Basis for growth and U. Rapidly improve. Okay, so this one is, and this one, and this one. I would really like to go for the army as well, because it's gonna help us hopefully with the investigation. None of African social states joins PECMEA. PECMEA? What is PECMEA? Oh, they're no longer... Oh, come on. West African Union. Really? Guys? We've done so much for you. Oh, that sucks. Cameroon and the PALF scores another major victory as the PLUAA, now known as the Union of African Socialist States, after their victory in Angola, has joined both the PALF and the Pan-African Community for Mutual Economic Assistance as another major member. I mean, on the other hand, you guys had barely any impact. You had $500 million in GDP, so Zaire would be much worse for us. With Angola devastated by war, especially with massive amount of mines laid during the Angolan Civil War, Their membership of PACMEA comes as a relief to the Angolan people, as plans are drawn up for economic recovery and reconstruction in the country. With Japan scoring yet another diplomatic victory and America defeated again, one can only wonder about what is left in America's plans for Africa, given its repeated defeats in the continent time and time again. Regardless, the power balance in Africa has been shaken up radically once more. Rejoice, my brothers, Africa grows stronger. Okay, I'm gonna end this episode by reading the analysis of the transferred money. While the Kanpatai offices were currently out of reach, having been reported as out on covert assignment, their families were not. Fortunately for the investigation, that was where the trail of money led them. The Kanpatai officials suddenly discovered fortunes had not been sent directly to their bank accounts. Instead, the money had gone towards their close relations, whether that be their girlfriends, wives, parents, or siblings. The interviews with these relatives went well. Some coaxing was initially required, as many of them felt anxious about their money possibly being taken away from them. Their fears were eventually quelled with the realization of the investigators' actual interests. Among those questioned, the universal story was that a charitable donation having been made to them due to their Kanpatai family member. The benefactor was always anonymous, at least to the recipients of the money. Theories raged as to just where the money could be coming from. Naturally, there were many ideas tossed about beyond the money merely coming from Daivi or an associate of his. Some suggest interference from powerful business groups, perhaps a keiretsu trying to utilize members of the Kanpatai against their competitors. Possible American involvement was the idea that intrigued the investigators most. They wouldn't put it past the CIA to attempt to corrupt part of the military police into leaking valuable information or to overlook one or two spies. Hypotheses aside, there was still much work to do to verify any one of them. The reports of mysterious sums of yen appearing out of thin air were simply not good signs, no matter who the cash originally belonged to in the first place. The paper trail was there, the agents needed only to locate it. The signs of corruption are certainly there. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode.